Yard. Stay informed with Pacific Mornings.
Māloelele, welcome back to Pacific Mornings on 5:31 PI. The time is 13 minutes past 8. I'm your guest host, Saina Falava Sanile Chadwick. Now, every Thursday we meet with a Pacific MP to discuss all the key political issues of the day. Today we've got Panmure Aotearoa MP Jenny Salesa, who joins us now live. Māloelele, Jenny, welcome to the show and happy Kiribati Language Week.
Mahalo talafalava, and thank you for having me, Sangili.
Let's start with the official cash rate. Yesterday announced it's staying at 3.25%. Just your reaction to that, and what does it signal about the state of our economy?
Well, we know that our economic outlook remains uncertain, and we also know that under Christopher Luxon, the costs are getting higher and life is getting harder and harder, especially for our Pacific families. The Reserve Bank said yesterday that they expect the inflation rate to increase, and this is especially around food prices, and this for me is a huge concern, especially for our Pacific people. The government can help by creating more jobs and providing cost of living relief for Kiwis, but instead they're cutting women's pay. We know that over 30,000 jobs have disappeared since they came into government, and they've failed to provide the cost of living support that they should be.
You can see firsthand in your electorate in Panmure Aotearoa, high Pacific population there. What are you seeing on the ground there, and what is your electorate there telling you about the cost of living? Like, what are some examples that you see that you definitely know people are doing it tough? And also, what should they be doing?
Families are coming in, and these are families with children, and they are working families. They work 2, sometimes 3 jobs just to get by, and they are finding it hard to afford, just the basics, food, rent. I'm also seeing a lot more people coming through because they themselves, even though they're working, cannot find a place that's affordable for them to live in. Things are really tough. In terms of the jobs that have been lost, we know that there are over 15,000 jobs in construction sector alone. And we know that so many of our Pacific people work in construction. And so when they lose their jobs, and these are not even singularly the jobs that the government have cut, but it is the effect of not building more social housing. It is the effect of not investing more to assist our folks who are out there doing it tough. So when people lose their jobs, unfortunately, it's Māori and Pacific that lose their jobs, it seems, first.
What should they be doing? Like, what happens when someone loses their job? Where do they go? Because you would have seen both sides of the spectrum, right? Someone who's got a job, someone who's losing it, and then someone who's lost it. What effect does that have? Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, some people are actually coming to my office asking me to assist them with finding a job. We know there have been jobs advertised where thousands and thousands of people are applying for one job. So what I'm saying is, when we were in government, Labor that is, we did various things to assist businesses to remain afloat, to assist people to find jobs. We also did training initiatives to assist people get trained so that they will be skilled for finding jobs. We're not seeing this government doing those sorts of things.
I want to talk about the regulatory standards bill. That's proven to be quite contentious and quite popular in terms of submissions, second highest in the country. But what submissions have stood out most to you during the submission period? And have there been any themes or anything that's concerned you about the nature of the submissions that have come through?
Yes, one of the submissions that really stood out for me was the former Prime Minister, Sir Geoffrey Palmer's submission, where he said that this is a really bizarre bill. The Regulatory Standards Bill is one of the first laws that Labor will repeal when we get back in government. This is singularly the 4th attempt that the ACT Party has tried to get a similar law passed. And it is yet another example of a concession by Christopher Luxon to ACT, which actually puts the interests of big corporations ahead of the people of New Zealand and our environment. This bill is actually quite dangerous. It actually encourages a constitutional shift, placing limits on Parliament's ability to make laws, and it actually gives sweeping powers to just one minister. It's kind of a Trojan horse for rolling back the state. It masquerades as regulatory reform, but the bill is designed to prioritise property rights and libertarian ideology over the well-being of the majority of New Zealanders.
Have you been surprised at all by the number of submissions with this bill? Do you think it's a sign that as a country people are becoming more vocal if they like something or they don't like something, they're more willing to stand up and say something?
I'm not surprised at all. You saw with Te Tiriti Principles Bill, over 300,000 submissions, and there are, thousands and thousands of submissions on this bill, which is actually, I think, much more of a dangerous bill. The Te Tiriti bill has not gone through. But, it does actually say that people are standing up to have a say. One of the things that has been said about this bill is that it's supposed to be like the Public Finance Act, but that act actually strengthens Parliament's oversight of spending of public money. This regulatory standards bill will weaken Parliament's powers to legislate. It actually will turn a minister into a kind of a rule-making czar. David Seymour would be able to both define what's good law, what it looks like, and he'd be able to appoint his own board to review it. Concentrating power in that way will undermine democratic safeguards. We already have robust review mechanisms. We have the Judicial Review, we have the Regulations Review Committee, and we also have the Ombudsman. This bill duplicates all of those powers, and it centralizes control within just one person without any justification.
Let's move on to the Pasifika Medical Association, or PMA. I want to get your response to that. There's allegations in the media that the Pasifika Medical Association misused whānau order funding to support Moana Pasifika, especially now that Te Puni Kōkiri has confirmed an independent review. Now, PMA have vehemently denied any wrongdoing here, but as someone who's well involved with the Pasifika community, I just want to get your take on this optically and whether there's any merit to this at all.
We know, as you've said, PMA have stated that no public funds were used, and as you also say, there is a review that's being undertaken by Te Puni Kōkiri right now. So we will find out more once the review is completed. But what I can say is that whānau order resources is supposed to be invested in helping our families and whānau to access the support and the services they need, especially in the areas of health, in education, in employment, housing and social services. But as I say, a review is currently being undertaken and we will find out more.
Is it concerning? Are you concerned at all that we're having to have a review in the first place, that we're now having this conversation, this kōrero now, and it's public? I know it's under review, but is it concerning that we're having to have one in the first place?
My concern, I suppose, is, as you put in your question, the optics and the kind of effect that it would have on other Pacific providers. So my concern is the effect that it would have on other services. We already know, Sangeli, that this government has cut a lot of funding, especially to NGOs, and some funding to public organisations as well. And so my concern is that there will be, possibly depending on how this review turns out, that there might be a reduction of funding for services that you and I know is really needed on the ground. I mean, you look at what happened with COVID-19. So many of our bi-Pacific, for Pacific providers, they were the ones that stood up and ensured that our people actually got to be vaccinated, and so that their health and the health of all of New Zealanders were protected. So there is definitely a need for Pacific providers. But as I say, we will have to wait for the review to come through.
Yeah, I don't think people realise, but a lot hinges on this review, right? It's about making sure that faith in the public and the funding process for, especially for Pasifika, the organisations that is much needed, stays there and the trust is there, right?
That's right. So that's one of our main concerns about some of the effects, depending on how the review pans out, might have on not
Mm.
just our providers, but actually on our people and the services that our people will get.
Just quickly before we let you go, the government's reforms to anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing laws include changes that may affect Pasifika families. How do you see these moves, especially if it's to simplify rules for like family trusts and then parents being able to open their children's bank accounts?
I'm not so sure that it was as big of a problem as the government has made it out to be. The fact that the rules are being changed so that it makes it easier for children to open up accounts. But I want to say that if it does actually end up with more kids saving and having a better understanding of money, so if this improves that aspect of it, I support it. But we must get these laws right, because if the laws are too loose, they can be exploited for money laundering, which is why this law was actually put there in the first place. We know that there are transnational organized crime that actually launder money in this way, and so our concern is that the laws must be tight enough to ensure that money laundering is actually addressed.
Malo Aotearoa Jenny Salesa, whawhataitele lava mo le avano. Thank you for joining us on Pacific Mornings on 5:31 PR. We appreciate you making the time to be with us.
Whawhataitele lava, Malo.